915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I am your host, Andy Frecca. We are broadcasting from the heart of the world's largest borderplex. We are here at the KELP studio in El Paso, and today we have Kenny on the board. Kenny on the board, how are you doing today?
Little hot.
It is a little
kind
toasty
of baking
out
outside.
There. Yes, it is. First it was cold, then it was a lot of wind, and now it's hot.
And I'm sure it's going to switch again.
Yeah. I don't know if that will ever happen. I think we have quite a few toasty days ahead of us. Kenny, we have a serious conversation ahead of us.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so...
I'm not getting fired, am I?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Oh, great.
So first of all, let's talk about your dog.
Okay.
Your dog's name is Teddy.
Yes, Teddy.
Right?
Yes.
And your birth year was 1968, correct?
Mine was 68, yes.
So tell me this, Kenny on the board. Is your email password Teddy1968 !
No.
Okay. I
Not even without the exclamation point.
Was I close?
No.
Okay. Now, we also have Mac Daddy Del Norte running our YouTube and Facebook Live. Now, Kenny on the board, let's think about what would Mac Daddy's password be?
Fast food 123.
Fast food 123. You have to have a special character in there. So the food, the O's are going to be zeros.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Because the 123 is his favorite combo meals.
Did we guess it, Mac Daddy?
Yes, actually. And it's the same one for my social media, for my Xbox account, my bank account.
Oh, perfect.
Everything.
Well addressed that, Mac Daddy.
So it is super efficient to have the same password for everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
But is that a good idea, Mac Daddy Del Norte?
Nope, probably not.
Probably not. So today we have a very special guest with us, Kenny on the board. Do you know why he's special?
Well, I know the Christian thing,
Okay.
why, but I'm going to assume that it has something to do with some type of online security, maybe.
Yeah, well, you're getting there. First of all, he is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly in my life, he is the man, the one man in the universe who agreed to marry my sister. Wait, so can we hit up the applause already? Is it too? Yeah. So my son Jaden is graduating from high school this weekend. Also, my daughter's expecting. We're having a baby shower. It's a big time for our family, but it's cool. My cousin came in from Tucson. Hadn't seen him in 30 years, and then my sister and her husband, who's here with us today in the studio, came all the way down from Ohio. And okay. That's enough, Kenny on the board.
It was a short one.
I mean, it's great that they did that. So my sister's husband, my brother-in-law, is the Chief Information Security Officer for the First Mutual Holding Company.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
so he helps hundreds of thousands of customers come up with new passwords. No, that's not what he does. But he does make sure that all these 5 banks in this holding that the information is secure. It's a huge job. So we are going to be talking about common internet scams. And here's the thing. Mac Daddy Del Norte, have you ever been scammed?
No, actually, no.
Have you? Kenny on the board, have you ever been scammed?
No.
No. Wow. Okay.
No, if I don't recognize the email or the voicemail or anything like that, I don't do anything.
Okay.
But delete
Next follow-up question: if you were scammed, would you know it, Kenny on the board?
No. No. I'm actually no. You know what? I wasn't scammed, but I did once from. I used to write a landlord a personal check, and his kids stole my account information and forged my signatures.
Oh wow!
And I had I went to go buy stuff for a new puppy that I was getting, and I couldn't because I was like $3,000 overdrawn
Okay, so that sounds like a big story. We'll have to get into that in a future 915 talk. But we have a lot to dive into today about internet scams. Just a reminder, we are in 1590 AM here in El Paso, 95.9 FM, 89.3 FM in Las Cruces. We are also live. 915 Talk is the YouTube channel. If you have questions that pop up, you can use the comment section under the live video. We will get to any of those that we can. Also, Facebook Live, KELP Radio. So we have this special guest. It's my sister's husband. It's a big deal. But we have a serious conversation ahead of us. So without further ado, wherever you are, maybe you're up in sunny, beautiful Chaparral. Maybe you're in toasty Las Cruces. Maybe you're over in Fabens trying to get out of the heat. But wherever you are, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Mr. Jon Densmore.
Thank you, Andrew, for that introduction.
John, welcome to 915 Talk.
Thank you, Andrew, for that very nice introduction. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we do believe that we should celebrate each other. We don't celebrate each other quite enough. So we have a lot to dive into today. We're going to be talking about internet scams. I do think that it's something that we should bring up pretty regularly on this program because it's happening, sadly, more and more often. I think a lot of people who are listening think that they're too smart to be scammed.
Right.
What would you say to that?
Certainly to say that, if you get scammed, it doesn't mean that you are not smart, that you're foolish, anything like that, because very intelligent people get scammed all the time. Mm-hmm. Getting scammed by these only proves that you're human, because there is an attack that will work on basically any one person. There's always find a way to get in to deceive you, trick you. Their goal of the scammers is to primarily get your money, either directly and indirectly, to get your information, or in some cases to install, viruses and malware on your system so that your system can be used to get other people's money and information.
Oh, wow.
So in all three ways, they're trying to make you a victim. And again, falling for these scams is no reflection on your intelligence, ability, or anything else. Again, it's just a reflection of the sophistication and that you're merely human and they will find a way to catch you. So my purpose today is to try to reduce that risk by reducing the likelihood of you getting scammed, by making you aware of what the attacks are like and how to recognize them, and also to reduce the impact by giving you some tools that anyone can implement to help reduce the likelihood of them getting scammed and reduce the likelihood of it being a major impact should they do.
Right. And I just kind of want to underline this, that I think if you think you're too smart to be scammed, that's fine. Still listen. And maybe you could use the information for someone else, help out a loved
Certainly,
one.
yes.
But also, I think one of the best ways to have a defense is to understand, no matter how smart you are, that it can happen to anyone.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I know we talked about this earlier on today, but there are different elements of any scam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the parts that any scam will have, or most scams?
Yeah, most scams, when they're trying to get you, they're trying to short circuit your thinking. So they're trying to get him an emotional response. So they'll do things in the scam, whether it's coming in through an email, which is called a phishing scam.
Okay.
Whether it's coming in through a text, which is called a smishing scam.
Okay.
Or whether it's coming in through a phone call, which is just called a vishing scam. Regardless of the means of the email of the scam coming in, their goal is to short circuit your thinking. And they'll do that by inducing fear. Is a primary thing.
Okay.
You'll get an email that says, you missed a payment, it's from the IRS, some other thing, some authority to induce fear in you.
Okay.
Or they'll try to appeal to some emotional level, be it greed.
Okay.
Here's a chance to get all sorts of money free, is a common one. Or a chance, here's curiosity, here's a link that looks interesting to you, or fear of missing out. If you don't do this right now, you'll miss this opportunity. So again, their purpose of any scam is to get you to act now. There's almost always a time horizon that you need to act very quickly to avoid whatever the fear is trying to introduce, or to avoid missing out what they're proposing. Again, trying to get you to short circuit your thinking. And they try to, again, like I said, appeal to that fear element.
Right. So this idea of, I like how you put it, short circuit thinking by appealing through fear or greed,
right,
and putting urgency into it. Is there like a little trick to like just stop yourself and understand that this is happening? Because I have seen, literally, I've been in the same room as a very intelligent person was scammed, and their thinking was clearly being short-circuited. So how do you slow down your thinking if you're afraid?
One thing you need to do is obviously be aware of what's happening. Check your emotions. Ask yourself, what is this email trying to get me to do? Mm-hmm. Some very good things is to have a trusted friend. Have a spouse or friend that you could share the message with and say, how does this appeal to you? How does this look to you? We've told people to get up and walk around for 5 minutes, come back and think about it. Just again, take a breath, stop the cycle that they're getting you in of, fear, you have to act now, short circuit that cycle by saying, wait a minute, I'm going to step away from this for a minute. I'll come back out with fresh eyes, I'll share the information with somebody else and get their input on this. We encourage, if you have elderly parents in your life or, friends or things, they're targets for this a lot, make yourself available to them that if they ever get something they're not sure of, have them reach out to you so you can take a look at it. So just so you get used to seeing those. Again, a lot of it is just when you get an email that's saying you have to do this now or this bad thing's going to happen, that is very likely a scam. Even the IRS doesn't do that. Even if you get an email or text that says, we are the police, we're coming to arrest you unless you send us $100. The police don't do that.
Right.
If they're going to come arrest you, they're not going to text you first, for one thing.
Right.
And, if you try to pay $100, that just compounds your problems.
Yeah. Yes. And I do need to interject with a little bit of a disclaimer. Just what we're talking about today is not in any way to be construed as legal advice or anything like that. It's just informational purposes only. If you're in a specific situation, find a specific professional who can help you through that. But hopefully this conversation will help, kind of the listeners, if you're listening, to think through kind of different situations in your life and maybe respond to them better. I like what you said, 5 minutes. I mean, no matter how urgent it is, if they emailed you,
it can wait 5 minutes.
Yes, it can wait 5 minutes.
Even if they text you, it can wait 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And even if they call you, you're not required to respond in that moment.
Right. Again, it says, because a lot of what the scammers will do, particularly in some of the scams that we'll mention, romance scam and others, is they want to isolate the victim. They want to isolate you from other people. They'll try to convince you that, other people can't be trusted, that they are the only ones who can be trusted.
Oh, that's interesting.
They want to isolate you from other people. So, like, sometimes if they reach out to you on Facebook, they'll say, let's take this conversation over to Telegram. Let's take this conversation somewhere else to get you away from that. Yeah. Or they'll try to convince you. We've had situations at the banks, where people have come in convinced, this has happened recently, people lost $1,000, convinced that they had to pay the scammer, scammer came to be from the IRS or something, they had to pay them all this money. And the scammer tell them that if you go to the bank and they ask you about it, tell them it's for home improvements. They try to convince scammers to lie to people that the scammer is the only one that can be trusted, and the banks and the authorities are going to try to deceive them. We have video of a bank. A woman was so convinced that she had to convert this cash into cryptocurrency. She's standing at an ATM feeding cash in. There's a police officer standing next to her on the body cam saying, ma'am, you're being scammed. This is a scam. She would not believe the police officer. She was so convinced by what the scammer is telling them. So
because the scammer had created such an urgent scenario.
Such urgency, such isolation.
Her brain was so short-circuited that she wouldn't believe a law enforcement officer that's standing right next to her.
Correct.
Yes. This isn't the point of the conversation, but I assume the bank is the people in the bank, the workers, the employees are trained to.
They are They are trained to recognize the signs. You'll even see it in your Walgreens, your CVS, your places that sell gift cards. Oh. Because a common scam you'll see is the scammer, there's a variety of these scams that happen a lot. The scammers say, how most often comes out is you'll get a text from your boss at work. Right. Yeah. I know we're on radio, I was doing air quotes. From your boss at work claiming that, he's on the road, doesn't have access to email, and he needs you to go buy gift cards because he's going to give it to the employees, and all you need to do is send him this code from the back of the gift cards. Mm-hmm. When you do that, you're basically giving the gift cards because there's codes on the back of the gift card. So he will send an employee to some place to buy $300 worth of gift cards and scratch off the codes and send them the codes. And now your cashiers and stuff are trained that someone's coming up with a stack of gift cards to start asking about that.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's a very, very common scam. Again, isolate you, fear, urgency, a position of respect, claiming to be your boss, claiming to be anybody else's authority.
Yeah, he'll take care of the $300 later. I have to be a good employee.
Right. The company will gladly reimburse you for both the $300 plus the time plus an extra little bonus. Well, you're never seeing that money.
So Mac Daddy and Kenny on the board, be sure that I will never ask you to buy gift cards. Because I don't know what I do with them. We never give them away, do we? So you'll know that's a scam.
I'm not worried about it. I don't get paid enough.
Okay.
Just kidding.
I mean, a corollary to that for our business owners out there, one of the most commonly reported scams and one of the biggest scams by far that hit businesses last year was called a business email compromise.
Okay.
And what happens in those scams is an employee, typically in accounting, will receive an email claiming to be from the business owner.
Okay.
It won't be from their email address necessarily. It'll be from a Gmail address, but have their name on it. And again, saying, we're in the process of doing this top secret merger or this acquisition. I need you to wire these $10,000 to this account.
$10,000.
Oh, it can be millions of dollars. Companies have lost millions of dollars away.
Wow.
The employee, not questioning, wanting to be an employee, will initiate the wire. The money go out. The email never came from the business owner.
Wow.
And that was the leading cause of financial scams in 2024 and 2023 also in the United States.
Yeah, and as we were chatting throughout today, one of the things you mentioned is I think for us who are listening, we're like, that's crazy. Like who would do that? Of course. But then the other part is there's very low financial risk for the scammer.
Oh, yeah.
They can send out 10,000 of these, and all you need is one to agree, and you're set.
Right. Your email scams cost nothing for them to send. If they send out, 10,000 and one person falls for it, they've gotten their money back plus. So
of course.
It's a numbers game for them.
Wow. Yeah, so those are, I know we have a lot of scams to talk about, but what are some of the other types of scams?
Sure. So one of the most common types of scams is generally called an advanced fee scam, also known as a Nigerian prince scam. You may have, it's been around for years. It used to come through as fax machines. That's how old it is. But basically the idea was, I'll use a Nigerian prince. I'm this Nigerian prince. I have these millions of dollars I need to dispose of. Your name came up, I'm willing to send you $5 million. All you need to do is send me $500 for a processing fee to get it transferred over to you.
Right.
You send the $500, you're never seeing that $5 million. So,
wait, what?
Yeah,
you don't get the $5 million?
Sorry, you don't get the $5 million.
Are you suggesting that my recent correspondence with the Sudanese Secretary of State is not completely above board?
Probably not. Ask them if they can just deduct the $500 from the $5 million they're sending you and send you the difference. And see how that goes. But that's an advanced fee. You'll see those in all sorts of flavors, but the general idea of an advanced fee scam is, someone is willing to send you a large amount of money in exchange for a small amount of money up front. Mm-hmm. They all kind of have that flavor. You will never see a large amount. And that's an appeal to greed. That's a appeal to fear.
Exactly.
It's like anything that they're saying, oh, here's an opportunity to receive millions of dollars. Yeah. I'll spend a little. You'll never see it again. Yeah,
$500 is not a lot compared to $5 million.
Not at all.
So why wouldn't I put in?
Why wouldn't I do
some
that? It's a good investment.
Right. Yes, gotcha.
So that's a very common one. One we're unfortunately seeing a lot of is called a romance scam, and this is where the isolation comes in.
Romance scam.
A romance scam is it can come through two ways. You could have someone who's lonely, who's going on a place like eHarmony or other dating site looking for someone to meet up with. Mm-hmm. They'll start chatting back and forth. Eventually, what typically happens is the other person, the scammer on the other end, may very likely not even the gender of the person they're pretending to be. It says, hey, why don't we take this over to Telegram or some other site, again, to get away from the controls of an eHarmony. The protectors have a place for that. Over time, they'll build up a relationship. They'll never meet in person, never going to do that for a variety of reasons. They're traveling, they're overseas, they're in the military. A lot of youth have been in the military. Yeah. And eventually they'll start saying, oh, the situation came up, I had this car accident, something happened, can I borrow, name the figure from you, $5,000. Can I borrow X from you?
Yeah, to fix the situation so I can come and see you.
So I can come see you. And they'll just start doing that, start asking for money.
Yeah. So,
and again, this is a sad situation where you will have people who are so indebted, so wrapped up in this romance. They believe that's another person that loves them.
Wow.
The scammer will do a process called love bombing. They'll send them compliments. They'll send them, they will love on them to death, feeling the need in that person's life who's very lonely, that the person cannot believe it's a scam because they're so emotionally invested in the situation.
Right. Again, short-circuiting the brain.
Short-circuiting memory. Family members have not been able to convince them. Authorities have not been able to convince them, and they'll go on. And we've had people lose their entire life savings.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to these people. People have second mortgages their homes in order to send the scammer money.
Yeah. There's a lot more to unpack here. Again, we're with my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. He's down here from Ohio. We've been having a great weekend together. But he also works in information security at a bank back in Ohio. And I appreciate him coming in and sharing his expertise. I think this is super helpful information for our audience. We're about to go into a break, but before we do, this is your daily reminder that 915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media, and you can go to desertvoice.media. That's the website, desertvoice.media, and click on that 915 Talk link to listen to this. Conversation will be posted on Tuesday after Memorial Day, or any of our past conversations. Also, for fun, after this program is over today, go to desertvoice.media and click on 915 Testify. That'll give you a little bump, a lot of great testimonies in there, and we're adding to those all the time. Just 60-second testimonies from around the borderland, people whose lives have been changed by Christ. So really appreciate all you listeners for joining us in this journey. Really appreciate you taking a moment to just visit desertvoice.media, just seeing how you can become involved. We're going into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
915.
Testify.
I used to be a very angry person at the world, being young, having kids, having a wife, being a father, just meeting those expectations that the world puts on you. It's not about the world, it's about, your relationship with God. And I didn't realize that until I was older, and because I was living a life that I shouldn't have been living a sinful life, living for the flesh instead of living for God. I was hanging around people I probably shouldn't have hung around with, drinking, going out to parties and coming home like 2, 3 in the morning. There was one day that I completely broke down. My son was asking me like, Dad, how come you're like this? How come you're always mad? And yeah, that day I did end up bringing out my Bible. I just broke down and started crying, because I felt the way Paul felt. Read your Bible, guys. If you don't know what to read, go into Proverbs, go into Psalms. God, He's protected me in so many different ways. He's the reason why I'm here. I'm trying to help other people reach God. He could truly change your life. My name is Miguel Ipave. I'm from El Paso. And if Jesus did this for me, I know He could definitely do it for you.
And they overcame Him by the blood of the Lamb
And by the word of their testimony.
desertvoice.media.
This is Hope with God. I'm Andrew Palau. Do you ever feel like yelling, stop? Everywhere we go, on social media, on the news, among our friends, it can feel like there are 1,000 voices. Today, I invite you to hold still and listen to the kind voice, the voice of Jesus. He said this to the people of His time, and He says it to us today. Come to me, all of you who are weary and heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Do you want to experience truth that brings peace and rest? Pray with me right now. God, show me your truth, your stillness. I'm listening, quietly listening for your voice. Jesus, come into my life and give me rest. I give you my life. I give you my heart. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Always remember, there is hope with God. I'm Andrew Palau.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we're talking about scams. It's sadly the level of scams in the world is not decreasing, and it's good for us to have to be aware of them and also have a defense. So we're with Jon Densmore. He's the Chief Information Officer of a bank holding way back in Ohio, but he's here visiting us in El Paso this weekend, and really appreciate him coming in and sharing his expertise. During the second half of this program, we'll talk about some of the things you can do to defend yourself. But first, Jon, you mentioned you have some more types of scams.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. A couple I just want to hit on real quick, I think important to be aware of. One of the most common types of scams we see related to particularly phishing, which is the email scams, as well as smishing, which is the text scams, is a scam where you'll click on a link in an email. Mm-hmm. Let's say the email claims to come from Microsoft.
Okay.
And it says, we noticed an issue with your account. Please log in here to verify your account. Mm-hmm. And it will take you to a page that looks like an actual Microsoft login page, but it could be, any Google, Amazon, any
major company that you
web
recognize.
page, right?
Yeah.
It'll have the style, have the logo, everything. But what they're actually trying to do there is capture your username and password so they can use it. Mm-hmm. So what typically happens is you'll put information in, you'll hit OK, and then they'll just redirect you to the actual website so you're not aware it happened. Mm-hmm. So that's a very common scam we see out there. And when we get into defenses, we'll talk about some ways to protect against that one as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
One of the scarier scams we've been seeing out there is what's known as either the grandparent scam or the kidnapping scam.
Okay.
In this situation, and this has been aided by the rise of artificial intelligence and the ability to mimic and create realistic voices, the attacker will gather information either from Facebook or other places to know, who someone's grandchild is.
Okay.
So they will call. They could call your father, Andy, and say, "Hey, we have kidnapped Jaden, your son. We've kidnapped your son, your grandson in this case, and we're holding him ransom unless you send us $1,000."
Right.
And they may actually have, a recording or an imitation of your son's voice in the background to make it sound realistic.
Wow.
And we've seen this a lot, way too often. I know people personally who have lost thousands of dollars to this because, again, we're talking about fear, sense of urgency, that if you do not act now to send us the money, something bad is going to happen to someone you love.
So how do they mimic the voice again?
They can do a couple things. They can take any voice and make it sound like it's stressed. They can just do a general crying, fearful voice. Or if the child actually has some video, audio of them on Facebook or something, they can take even 30 seconds of that and throw it through an AI processor and make it say anything they want.
Wow. Well, I'm glad my voice isn't anywhere out there.
No, you should be very well safe. The other variation on that, which is actually, appropriate here, you'll have what's, again, this case will use a voice. It will be the child themselves saying, "Hey, I went over to Mexico for the weekend, did something wrong, and now I'm in jail, and I need $500 for bail to get out. And I'm afraid to call my parents because they'll be upset with me." So they're reaching out to the grandparents, things like this.
Wow. Yeah. To keep the grandparents from calling the parents.
To keep the grandparents from calling the parents.
To your point, isolating
them, yes.
Right.
The other thing that we've seen, again, all too often, and this applies to people who are in the process of buying a home, because very often when you are buying a home, at the last step, you have the down payment you need to make. So you're putting 20% down, and you'll be sending that to a title company for processing.
Okay.
Because the home buying process is somewhat public record throughout, scammers will watch that. They'll see this in the process, and they will send them an email claiming to be from the title company, say, "Hey, we had to make a change in our system. Now send your down payment to this account."
Wow.
Instead of the one you meant to send it to.
Yeah.
So they will interpret.
Send us everything you've worked for in your life.
They will intercept that 20% down payment. So not only is the buyer out of that money, they're out of the ability to buy the home they've been dreaming of buying.
Wow.
And that is why if you're in the process of buying a home, you'll now see title companies saying, "This is your number. It will never change," anything like that.
Right.
So just defense in place. But there's a lot of other types of scams, but generally I just want people to come away with, check your emotions, have someone that you can talk to. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
If it's creating fear in you or doubt, again, talk to somebody else before taking action. Don't act on anything you receive in like that.
Yeah, because you were there alone in the situation and you had that emotional response, so you need to go to someone who will not have that same response to get a second pair of eyes.
Step away for 5 minutes, come back and look at it, learn to look at things, spot these signs.
And don't allow yourself to be isolated.
Right, don't become isolated.
Yeah.
Don't separate yourself from your family or friends just because you have someone you feel like is loving you across the internet.
Right, exactly. And we're going to go into more of the defenses of what can be done if there is to protect yourself from scams. Again, we're with Jon Densmore. He's Chief Information Officer of a bank holding company back in Ohio. And there really is a lot more for us to unpack, particularly how to defend ourselves. But first, we have Charlie One on the phone. Charlie One, what do you see out on the roads on this toasty Friday afternoon?
I'll tell you what, Andy, it's a toasty afternoon, and I don't know if it's the heat, Andy, that's causing a lot of accidents on the roadway, but we have a lot to go through right now. Maybe the heat, I don't know. But let's start on the west side, Mesa and Donovan, injury crash that's working there. Let's go to the east side, where this kind of central east side, Sioux and Airport accident, crash with injury. Let's go to the east side, busy intersections here. George Dieter and Rojas, that crash just happened. Saragossa and South Kleinfield on a crash. Also Saragossa and John Hayes on a crash. Then in Central, and maybe caused by the heat, I don't know, that we have a power outage in Central area. Fort Boulevard in Copia, that is the traffic lights do not work here at Fort Boulevard in Copia. Also, along with that, Piedras and Grant, Piedras and Aurora, Pershing and Copia, Fort Boulevard in Alabama, all major intersections, traffic lights do not work. PD say possible power outage. Then we go to, where are you? Tapping the brakes. All roads leading to the water sports, they're jammed right now. I-10 East at Piedras to the water sport. US 54 South to the water sport. I-10 West to the water sport. Border Highway East to Saragossa Bridge, backed up to Padres there. So there's a lot going on, and maybe the heat's causing it, Andy. I don't know, but it's got to drive safely out there.
Yeah, lots of bad news, Charlie One, this afternoon. I live in Central, and our power went out, and I had to drive down Copia with no traffic lights. It was exciting. I hope I have some air coming into my house by the time I get home this evening. Charlie One, with all that bad news out there, we've been also talking about internet scams on today's episode of 915 Talk. We also need to have some good news in our life. Tell us the good news about where we can find the Daily Menudo.
Delicious food. That menudo, very delicious menudo. Not only that, we have the Mexican plates. We have the flautas, gorditas, tacos, enchiladas, all the favorites right there. So especially that daily menudo, delicious every day at Mi Perrito Cafe, 3120 Traywood. And I hope the power comes back on by the time you hit the road there, Andy, because right now it's a mess out there. So drive safely.
Yeah, so do I, Charlie One. And Charlie One, just briefly, maybe in one sentence, my brother-in-law is today my guest on this program. He's from Ohio. I don't believe he's ever had menudo. How would you describe it to him?
It's very tasty. It's a little bit spicy. It's a little bit with chili in there, and it's hard to describe. But you have to taste it. You got to go for it yourself because it's just very tasty. It's like it's like a soup, but not a soup. It's got those. It's got the meat in there. It's got the hominy in there, oregano, and it's just something that you really got to try, Andy.
Thank you, Charlie One. We'll talk soon. And also with our traffic report, shout out to Alamo Glass Pros, good folks over there. I know them personally. If you have a chipped or cracked windshield, or with all that sun out there, if you'd like to tint your windshield or your car windows, check out AlamoGlassPros.com. And again, we're with Jon Densmore. He's the Chief Information Officer at a bank holding way back in the Midwest. He's here in El Paso this week. Had a lot of fun just showing him around town the past couple of days. But Jon, we've been talking the first half hour about types of scams. We've been talking about the elements of a scam. Now, what are some of your tips for avoiding scams?
Thanks, Andy. And before we move on to that, it would be amiss if I didn't, mention to remind people, your listeners, that we should be praying for these scammers, because a lot of the people involved in these scams, especially in the romance scam and others, are victims themselves. They are, young men and women who have been trafficked into other countries, like in Cambodia and stuff, and they're actually being held prisoner and being made to do these scams.
That's crazy.
So, unfortunately, they're victims all the way down. A lot of the things we need to be praying for them that they can be set free from this lifestyle.
Right. That's huge. That's huge.
Yes. Yeah. So for defenses, I have quite a few here. I have a long list, and we will be posting this on the website along with links for additional information. We're not going to have time to get through all of them today, but there'll be a very extensive list on the internet along with links to other things, especially links to if you've ever been scammed, ways and resources that can be available to help you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, a lot of information will be available on the website Tuesday. So I encourage people, come then to go there and look at this information.
Desertvoice.media. We'll have all those links for you on the 915 Talk link come Tuesday late morning. Right, Mac Daddy Del Norte? Mac Daddy says yes. All right. So what are some of the defenses we can have?
So let me start with the, the first. I'll start with 5. I would say if you do these 5 things, you'll have significantly reduced your likelihood of being seriously victimized by a scam.
Okay.
First one, despite what Mac Daddy was recommending, I encourage people to get what's called a password manager.
Okay.
And a password manager is an application, and there are ones that are available for free, and I include that on the link on the website, that allow you to have a unique and very strong password for every website you visit. And by unique, I mean something randomly generated, something that you wouldn't be able to memorize yourself, but the password manager can be an app on your phone, it can plug into your browser, so it can automatically fill those unique, strong passwords for you.
Okay, so this is my question about that. And I will, I guess, expose a little bit about myself. I do use password manager sometimes, and sometimes I don't. But I'm like, if someone could just break into my password manager, they'd have everything.
That's true, and that's why you obviously want to protect your password manager itself with a very strong password.
Okay.
Obviously that's a valid point. Now the password managers, I recommend are extremely secure, hosted on the internet. They don't have access to your passwords themselves. Everything's encrypted. So on your phone, your password manager can typically be protected by your fingerprint. Not only unlock your phone, but to unlock the password manager itself, you would need to provide, biometrics, fingerprint or Face ID. You'll want to create, one very strong password. Length is important here. Something at least 14 characters long. The longer, the better. The complexity is important too.
And something you cannot memorize even yourself.
No, that password you'll memorize. That password you know. But something, and often, these also support what are called passphrases. So it can be, the first line of your favorite song, something like that.
Okay.
Something that memorize, but it's long and fairly complex. But that's the only password you need to know with the password manager. You're not having to create variations of, password 1, 2, 3 for every website, things like that.
Right.
So that's very important because one of the biggest issues we have is what's called password reuse. If you don't do that, let's say you don't do that and you use the same password everywhere, and you have some random website, you use it somewhere, that password got compromised, they have that password, they can start using it on your banking site. That's the first thing they'll do is they'll take passwords they know and will use it on banking websites and other places.
Right.
And that's why it's important to have strong, unique passwords everywhere.
And that's why my computer sometimes tells me you have 370 passwords that are the same. You should change them.
That would be why it would tell you that.
I'm exaggerating. I'm making a joke, of course, but occasionally, of course, you start using the same ones.
And that's why in a password manager, a good one will tell you if you're doing that. Like they will tell you have non-unique passwords. We suggest you change some of them, and that's good to do. The other good thing about password manager is, several benefits I'll get to in a second. One of them is often you'll go to a website, banking website, and they'll say, all right, we need a security question. What's your mother's maiden name? What was your high school mascot? Where did you meet your spouse? Those sort of things.
Kenny's dog's name is Teddy, and he was born in 1960.
Duly noted.
Yeah.
So my first, I hate to say this on a Christian radio station, but my first encouragement is on those answers, lie.
Oh, interesting.
Don't give where you went to school.
Went to high school.
Right, because that information is typically publicly out there on, make up even nonsensical answers.
Interesting.
I met my wife at Yellow. Just something that didn't make sense.
Oh, wow.
And then you can save those answers in your password manager. If you ever need to know them, they'll be in your password manager. And they're not something somebody can guess.
I have never thought of that. I like to be truthful in all things, John.
I appreciate that. If you want to, a lot of people say, all right, take your favorite fictional character and answer those questions as they would.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's the sort of thing you can say to a password manager. The other benefit of a password manager, and this goes back to the credential harvesting I mentioned, if you have your legitimate websites with your password in there, if you go to an illegitimate website, your password manager won't have a password for that. It will say, I have no password here, because you're not on the website that exactly matches what's in the password manager.
We'll just make up something, like if you go to Acme website and it's a fake website, it's not the real Acme website.
Your password manager won't match up to it, so you won't have your password for it.
You're not going to input the wrong thing. Right. That's interesting.
So those are 3 ways a password manager protects you. That's why it's, again, very important.
Okay.
The next one I would recommend is everywhere you can implement what's called multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
And I'm sure most of your listeners have experienced to some degree. You log into your bank website and they send you a 6-digit code as a text.
I find it to be super annoying.
It's super annoying, but super important.
Okay. All right.
And there are varieties that are better and used than others. So the first one I mentioned, the text, you get the numerical text. That, while extremely better than nothing at all, is probably the weakest form of multi-factor authentication.
Wow. Just getting a text is not the strongest.
It's not the greatest.
Okay.
The better ones, you have what are called authenticator apps, like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. And if you use that, you open it up, it will generate a code, 6-digit code, that changes every 30 seconds for that website.
Okay.
The benefit of that over a text message is no one can intercept it for you.
Okay. Are there people intercepting my text messages?
It's a possibility, could be, yes.
Okay. All right.
Another one you can get is, and again, all this will be on the website.
Yeah. DesertVoice.media, 915 Talk.
Is one that's becoming popular right now, growing in usage, and it's called passkeys, which will replace password. And again, it uses things within your browser, within your computer to identify you so that only you can log on to that website.
Right.
But that's the next one I would recommend that people do, and this is not a technical thing, but that is to implement a credit freeze. That's to go on to your major credit sites, your Experian, your TransUnion, your others, and freeze your credit. If you're not in the process of buying a new home, furnishing it, buying a lot of things, if you're not in the process of opening new credit accounts every week, if you freeze your credit, which costs you nothing to do, it costs you nothing to freeze it, it costs you nothing to temporarily unfreeze it.
Yeah.
It's something that by law the credit reporting companies have to make available to you. And again, on the website we'll have a link that'll take you to one place. You can do all 3 of your majors from that site. Then if somebody ever gets your information, because if a scammer gets your name, birth date, social security number, they can try to open a credit card in your name.
Right.
They'll have the credit card, you'll have the bill. If you do a credit freeze, they can't do that. Because when they go in the credit card, they'll say, the account's frozen, we cannot issue new credit against this identity.
How interesting. Yeah.
So again, but if you need to open an account, if you're buying a car or something, you can quickly go on the site, unfreeze it. You can do a temporary unfreeze, say unfreeze this for 24 hours, do what you have to do. It'll automatically refreeze, and the scammer has no opportunity to steal your identity.
How interesting. I think I enjoy it adds no value to my life, but I enjoy seeing my credit score kind of go up or down.
You'll still see that. It doesn't affect your ability to see your credit score. Because mine's frozen, but I see it, go. You'll see all that. You have all that benefits. All that means is that you would have to temporarily unfreeze your account before you went and applied for another credit card.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I could still have that.
You still have that benefit. You still have all that knowledge.
Game to watch. Okay, gotcha.
All right, so again, that's 3 of them so far. We have the password manager, unpaid credit freeze. Yeah. The 4th one I recommend, as a general rule, I alluded to before, is do not act upon incoming phone calls, email messages, or text messages that that come from places you do not know.
Okay.
Or even claiming to be. So, case in point, you get a phone call claiming to be from your bank, Andy, that says, hey, we know some suspicious activity. We need to verify it's you, okay? So, and this goes back to the text message. We're going to verify it's you. We're going to send you a 6-digit code to prove that it's you. Okay? Follow me along here, okay? What's happening in the background, they have gotten your bank password, okay? They have your login in from bank. They're logging in. They're in the process of logging in. The bank is legitimately sending you the multi-factor. They're claiming to be the bank, and now they will log in as you.
Kitty on the board has had his mind sufficiently blown already. Yes.
So that's how that. So if you get a call claiming to be from the bank, that's a message, say, thank you very much, let me call you back. You then call back the number that's on the back of your bank card, because every credit card and bank card has a phone number on the back for customer service. You call back that number, say, I think there may be suspicious activity. Can you confirm this for me? You take no action based on the incoming call.
Okay.
And that simple discipline. And same with incoming emails. If you see an email coming from your bank, again, you go to your actual bank login, go to the actual bank website, and say, legitimately call the number on the back of the card, say, I have this concern, can you verify?
Especially if that call comes from a number starting with +91.
Yes, especially if it calls no matter where it comes from. And lastly, here's one of the top 5 that people don't think about, and that's for your cell phone. That's to protect your cell phone account with as strong of a PIN as the company will allow.
Okay.
And by PIN, that's typically a 4 to 8-digit PIN that if you were to call AT&T, say I need to replace my phone, and they'll say, what's your PIN? And you'll say my PIN is 1234.
Okay.
Or whatever. Hopefully it's not 1234. Whatever it is, and that's how they verify it's you. The reason you do this is if somebody else is able to guess your PIN, they can move your phone number to a phone they control. At that point, all email, all text messages, all verification codes are coming to their phone, and you've effectively lost control of your online banking and other identity.
Wow.
They can go on any website and say, I forgot my password, and they'll send that reset email to the phone they control.
Wow.
That's this process called SIM swapping. So that's why you want to make as strong as a PIN as you can, save it in your password manager that you've already had, but don't make it something like your phone number. Don't make it your social security number. Make it something as random as you can come up with that no one's going to guess. Don't make it your birth year. Don't make it 1968 if you're Kenny. Don't make anything like that.
I think you got him. Yeah. All right. Well, you also mentioned something about how you save the numbers on your phone.
Yeah. So this is important. This is a couple of important things. So I mentioned, about knowing your fraud number. I would add your fraud number for your bank. Learn that number and add it as a contact on your phone.
Okay.
One, that way, since as soon as they call from the same number, it'll show up as a contact on your phone. But also, if there ever is a crisis, you need to do something, you have the number there. You're not having to scramble to look up for it.
Right.
Look it up. One of the big dangers people have when they get in a crisis is they'll go and they'll Google, fraud number for ABC Bank. Where that becomes a problem is scammers will buy an ad. They will buy an ad to be ABC Bank, get their number listed at the top of the search results. Because on Google, ads are listed at first. So they will buy ads knowing that people are going to look for that, claiming to be the bank. They're not. And again, redirect them to a phone number they control.
Wow.
So a little preparation ahead of time, getting those numbers in your phone just so you have them handy is a good control. A correlating thing I recommend, not a technical control, but have your time, take all of the cards you have in your wallet or your pocketbook and make a photocopy of them front and back. And then save them someplace safe. That way, if your wallet's ever lost or stolen, you have what was in there and you have all the numbers of who you need to call on the back of the cards.
That seems really obvious. I will do that. I have already done that. We're on the radio. I'll do it very soon. It's a great idea. Right. Yeah. So again, we're with Jon Densmore. He's not only my brother-in-law, he is Chief Information Officer for a bank holding back in Ohio. We're talking about just protecting ourselves from fraud. We're about to go into a quick break, but first, I do want to give a shout out to KELP Impact Partner Caring Companions. If you have an elderly loved one or just maybe someone who's just went through an operation, something like that, someone who needs a little more assistance around the house, or maybe you need a break from time to time, check out caringcompanionsep.com. Really good folks over there. I have friends who use their services. They speak very highly of them. caringcompanionsep.com. We're going into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Are you looking for a Bible teaching church on the west side of El Paso? This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel Sun City and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City, is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org. The Lord bless you, my friends.
A young family man was complaining to his elderly pastor about the weight of all the responsibilities he had to carry. Between family and work, it seemed that the weight of it all was more than he could manage. I have discovered, the pastor said, that God uses the weight of our responsibilities to keep our feet firmly planted on the ground. Even better, that weight often forces us onto our knees where we can receive strength. If you are feeling the weight of responsibility, thank God for keeping you planted in the ground of maturity and prayer, and that He trusts you with so much. This is David Jeremiah, encouraging you to get on the road to new life. Discover God's reasons for responsibility on Route 66.
Route 66, driving the word home. Log on to Route66Life.com. Start your journey home today.
Hey KLP listeners, this is Pastor Terry Gray of Calvary Chapel, Sun City on El Paso's west side. I want to invite you to join me at a new time at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday right here on KELP. If you're driving home at 5 p.m. or doing work around the house or getting your evening started, I invite you to join me as we go through the Bible, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. There is nothing more valuable than the Word of God, so let's invest our time in learning more about it together each day. That's our Bible study program, Summons, each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on KELP.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you're listening to 915 Talk. Before we continue our conversation about scams, internet scams, phone scams, text scams, all of that, just quick shout out to Pastor Terry Gray and Sun City Calvary Chapel. Each and every weekday after this program, we do feature Summons with Pastor Terry Gray. Love that expository Bible teaching. Also, just really grateful for that church for joining us in our journey here at this radio ministry. John, during the break, we were talking about your phone contact list.
Yeah. So one of the things that we recommend people, and this doesn't seem obvious at first, but if you have a situation in your phone where you have your parents or others in there, your kids have you in there, is to actually have your real name and not just contact names like mom and dad, grandpa, grandma, things like that. And the reason being is there have been times where scammers have been able to change their display name to be, mom or dad, something like that. And this happened in our life, they will call the child, it comes through as mom, so it looks like it's coming from the parent's phone, even though the phone number is different. And they'll come through and they'll tell them that, they're holding the mother captive, and if they don't send the money right now, something bad's going to happen.
That's so crazy. You told me the story of how that affected you. Just this very simple idea that you could have your phone, it would say mom.
Right.
You assume it's your mom.
Right. You wouldn't catch the phone number is completely different.
Right.
This is mom.
Yeah. And then they're saying, we're holding your mom.
Right.
Right. And so, make sure you don't just have mom, dad.
Put their actual names in there or something like that. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very simple, not complex thing to do, but
love that because it's so simple, so kind of obvious, but just one other layer of protection.
Right. And like I said, these among others will be on the website because there's a lot we're not getting to.
Right.
Just two more I want to hit on real quick. And you mentioned on the break, we had the company that's helping, parents.
Caring Companions.
Caring Companions. If you have people you're concerned about in your life, elderly parents and others, work with them to see if you can get joined to their account, either shared bank account or to receive notification of transactions.
Okay.
And for bank accounts in general, set up, if you, for whatever your lifestyle is, work with your bank to get email notifications whenever there's withdrawals over X amount that makes sense for you. Mm-hmm. If there's an ATM withdrawal over $50 and you don't normally do that, get a notification set up that. If there's some sort of transfer that would be unusual for your lifestyle, set up notifications. That way, again, if a scammer gets management of your account, you would know quickly if something's happening to it, if they're draining it.
So a bank would be okay with you as the child, the adult child, of course, having also connection to those
banks
notifications.
They'll do that. They may not give you control of the account, but they should be able to put you on as someone who also receives notifications of unusual activity.
Just informational.
Informational, right.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's one you can, again, and obviously I also mentioned again, check on your parents, work with them to say, hey, mom, dad, if you ever get an email or text or phone call that you're not sure about, please forward it to me. I'm here to help you.
Yeah, I'm happy to take the time, take a deep breath. We're going to go through this together.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I would want to share about, again, is something that's not technical, but good, protect yourself. Be careful about what you post on social media, because a lot of information you share can be used to create targeted phishing emails towards you. They'll get your interest. And also, if you're going to be away from home, you leave the home unattended, wait till you get back to post like vacation pictures and things like that.
Yeah, I made that mistake very recently. I got all excited about the view from the airplane, and I posted it immediately, and it hit me. I just told the world that I'm not home.
Right. It's fine to share it with your family, send it to them, but don't post it publicly until you are back and can manage that.
Right.
Again, these are so many ways to protect yourself, so many things to be aware of. Again, people will get scammed. They'll find a way to scam you, and there's certainly no shame in that. Just proves we're human, but we have the opportunity to do all we can, protect ourselves and those that we care about.
Yeah, love it. John, really appreciate you coming in today. Again, we've been with my brother-in-law, Jon Densmore. He's also the Chief Information Officer of a bank holding back in Ohio. Really appreciate this expertise. Let's watch out for each other. Let's watch out for as he mentioned towards the end of this program, our elderly parents especially, but also ourselves. Let's not fall into a trap. A haughty spirit comes before calamity. So don't think that you're too good to be scammed. It can happen to any of us, as we mentioned. But also a sobering moment when you mentioned that a lot of the people involved in these scams through the internet are themselves victims of human trafficking. You mentioned especially Cambodia and some other places. So let's be in prayer for all of that. What a huge issue. So again, thanks for coming in today. I hope that this has served you, our listening community. And as we always say, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. In order to listen to previous editions of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media. Let's learn together to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.